I got it. I stepped to the side of the ledge when I remembered my cousin would be back any second. I think I should wait for Todd. He might not be able to hear me from all the way down there. I said, not admitting to myself that I really was afraid to dangle off the ledge and blindly feel for an old rickety ladder to climb down to the bottom of a pitch-black chasm where a voice was calling from, telling me it's all right. Don't be afraid. Please help me. It hurts.
Don't fall for it.
The voice sounded more desperate than it had before. I didn't say anything back, trying to gauge the situation. My head felt foggy, and I was having trouble thinking clearly. I didn't like the change in tone, but resolved I would attempt to help him as soon as my cousin came back. It felt important that I tell him. The voice below made occasional pained noises, but stayed otherwise silent for a while. Finally, Todd's voice called down softly from above. Jordan, I'm back. I got a few people from across the way. We're gonna pull you out. We're trying to tie the rope off here, then we'll send it down for you. Okay. I called back up to him. I gotta help this other guy down here, though. His leg is pinned under a rock.
No,
I got a ladder down here, though, that someone left. I'm gonna climb down and try to help him.
Don't, human.
There was no response for a few long moments, except for the small rocks skipping and sliding down the sides of the cave.
It'll be the death of you,
Look,
human.
Jordan, you need to listen to me. There's no one else down there with you. Think about it for a minute. No one could survive that drop. I can't believe you're even alive, but you are, and we need to get you out of there. I think that maybe you hit your head, and maybe you're a bit confused. Just stay there and let us pull you out of there, okay? Don't try to go down further. There's nobody down there. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Maybe I did hit my head, but I knew what I was doing. I wasn't confused or hallucinating. I heard talk from above and words like head trauma and concussion. I'm not crazy, I said. There's someone down there, and he's gonna die if we don't help him. I turned my head back below me and called down to the voice below. Hey, just tell him your name or something so he'll believe me. If you're from around here, he probably knows who you are, right? He doesn't know me. I would have been before his time. I'm older. So what? Just call up there. Tell him your name so he knows I'm not crazy. Or I'll do it if you're too scared of a cave-in. What's your name? I don't remember. The voice sounded defeated. My cousin must have heard us talking, and I thought for a minute he decided there was a second person down below.
But no.
His voice suddenly seemed regretful and apologetic. Okay, sorry I was wrong, but let's get you out of there first, then we'll come back for the other guy, okay? One thing at a time, all right? He's lying. The voice hissed at me from below. He'll leave me here as they always do. You must help me. I'm bleeding. I'm trapped.
Don't do it,
I don't know how much longer I can survive like this. Minutes could mean my death. Don't you understand? I was tired of this. It didn't sound like the voice was that far down. I would help him myself. Now, not later. I'd only been down here for a couple of hours, but that was long enough to know that this was hell. The smell, the rocks falling down constantly onto you, the wet slime of mud that permeated everything and made it hard to breathe. I'm going down for him, I said, more to myself than anyone else. My cousin must have heard because he really lost it. If not for the threat of a cave-in, I think he would have screamed at me. He settled for a halfway whisper shout, which resulted in a barrage of rocks falling at me from above. Are you out of your mind? There's no one down there. Just stay where you are, man. You're gonna get yourself killed. His words stung even more than the avalanche of rocks, but I steeled my resolve and swung my lower half off the ledge. A moment of panic set in as my foot searched blindly in the dark for the top rung of the ladder.
You're gonna
Finally, my foot settled on it, and I found the next
die.
rung with my other foot, slowly and carefully making my way down into the complete blackness below.
You're gonna die, human. You're dumb.
I could hear people talking above me. Clearly they decided I was completely nuts and were coming up with contingency plans, since I wasn't exactly cooperating. I just need 5 minutes. That's it, I said.
No,
I continued down the strange ladder, feeling the odd curvatures of it, and wondering why and how anyone would construct a ladder in such a fashion. The rungs of the ladder felt ornately carved into shapes that each felt unique. My fingers felt them with increasing curiosity as I made my way down. The vertical bars of the ladder felt strange too, and I ran my hand over the face of it. It felt like letters, only not from any alphabet I'd ever seen. I tried to decipher them, but the light was too dim. I looked up and saw the hole that I'd fallen down looked tiny, the size of a quarter now. How long had I been climbing? I began to notice that the ladder rungs felt much more intricately sculpted as the ladder descended. In the increasingly dim light, I noticed they began to have form and features. I realized at some point that each rung was an oblong wood carving of a different animal. This one felt like the wings of a bird, and the left side narrowed to the point of a beak, the other end fanning out into tail feathers. The next had large flat teeth at one end, and the unmistakable whale would be followed by a bear, a squirrel by a hawk, with no consistency or reasoning I could decipher. So close, the voice said.
Human.
Very near now. Maybe only 10
If
feet
I was
below
there,
me.
I would save you,
I was suddenly
mate.
afraid.
If not,
My
I
hands
hate
were
humans.
shaking as I prepared to take
I
the
don't
next
want
rung
humans
of the
to
ladder.
die.
Yes, almost. I stopped. The voice didn't sound hurt or scared anymore. It sounded hungry. I had a moment of clarity where I realized what I was doing.
Yeah,
This wasn't right. None of this felt
You're
right.
fucked, human.
I looked down and saw that my eyes had adjusted just enough to see the vague shape and face of the being below. It was not a man or a woman, although its features were distinctly feminine. Its skeletal form was long and slender, covered in ancient tattered rags that hung loosely from it.
They're gonna die.
It was standing up to its calves in thick black mud that bubbled and looked alive. The creature smiled up at me. Its ability to change its voice seemed to be a talent the creature possessed, along with its persuasiveness, I realized later. As I saw its true form, I realized that I'd been tricked, that the mental fog I'd been feeling was the result of this thing's grasp on me. I looked ahead at the ladder and saw the rungs were much wider now and very ornate. They were no longer the forms of animals I recognized either, but strange humanoid monsters. My throat caught, and I struggled to swallow for a moment when I realized the rungs currently holding me up appeared to be rotting, their delicate carvings falling away in pieces after years of exposure to the thick black mud covering the bottom of the pit. I resolved to get out of there as quickly as possible, but I felt for a moment as if my legs wouldn't move. There was a crack. The ladder rung beneath my feet suddenly buckled, then snapped in half in an instant, and I fell, breaking through several ladder rungs on my way down and smashing my face against a boulder as I hit the ground. I felt like I would pass out for a moment, but I struggled to my feet, and the thing was on me in an instant, its rotten black fingers clawing at me and snapping its razor-sharp teeth inches from my face. I managed to push it away. I've never been a fighter, but I fought that day, though. I fought for my life, and I managed to push it back. I tried to jump up, and I slipped on the mud instead, then had to scramble to get to my feet again. I noticed I was bleeding badly from a bite to my arm. The pain from the bite was spreading quickly, with a dull ache that began to throb with my heartbeat. I saw ribbons of flesh hanging down, and I realized the thing had
They're
pulled
so
my
dumb
arm
and
apart
gullible.
like a paper bag lunch filled with hamburger meat.
I don't want to watch them
Strips
die.
of loose
I don't
flesh
want
flapped
the
around as I
humans to
moved
die.
my arm, and I felt bright, fresh waves of pain, worse than anything I'd ever felt in my life, as the adrenaline rush was no match for this degree of wound. I realized with dismay that I could no longer feel my fingers, and the creature started towards me again, its black eyes shining in the dull light. I braced myself for its second attack, ready to fight for my life, trying not to lose hope. As the creature got close, I lost my balance in the mud and slipped. It seemed to have a life of its own. The mud wanted to help the creature. I could feel it pulling me down like greedy hands and holding my wrist back behind me. I closed my eyes and screamed as the creature bore down on me. And the last image I remember was it coming at me with sharp fangs. I waited for the impact, but it didn't come. I opened my eyes and saw an image that didn't make sense. It looked like my Uncle Glenn was hanging from a rope and punching the demon creature in the face. The mud momentarily loosened its grip, as if in surprise, and I pulled away from it, freeing my hands. Uncle Glenn? Hey, kid, I'm gonna get you out of here, he said, pushing the thing off into the wall on the other side of the cave. The years of pulling up prawn traps and wrestling lingcod had given him a strength I'd never appreciated before this moment. What the hell is this thing? He said. He pulled me up out of the mud and took the harness off his waist and put it around me quickly. He pulled twice on the rope as a signal, and I felt myself being pulled up out of the pit. The mud hands pulled at my ankles and feet, and then with a final forceful pull on the rope, I was lifted out of the mud, up and away from the bottom of the pit. I looked down and saw the thing was on my uncle, clawing at him. I could hear his cries of anguish and pain. The creature tore away at his face with his claws, exposing tendons and muscles beneath. It snapped its teeth and finally landed a bite on my uncle's hand as he held it out to defend himself. I watched as the thing bit and tore at his flesh, and then had him on the ground, where the mud hands pulled him down as he screamed. He'd come down here to save me, because I hadn't listened, and now he was gonna die down here. Grab onto my legs, Uncle Glenn. It's your only chance, I said. He looked up at me and shook his head. I was too far up already, out of his reach. I screamed at the people above me to stop, but they continued to pull me up, thinking I was simply being difficult. I watched as he tried with everything he had to fight the thing off, but the mud was all over him now, covering him except for his belly, where the creature began to feed. Gradually, they faded away into blackness as I rose up into the light above. Rocks were falling all around me now. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. My arm had been amputated above the elbow, and I was delirious for a few days, but started to come out of it after my mom flew in from back home, and I woke up with her frowning at me. Everything came back in an instant, like a movie where the character has amnesia. It really was like that. I didn't sleep for 3 days after remembering what had happened. I screamed as they'd sedated me with countless needles, and I had visits from psychiatrists and their young, bright-eyed residents. They asked me countless questions which I refused to answer, until eventually they became annoyed and stopped coming around as much. I was discharged after weeks of care in the hospital. Of course, it didn't take me long to realize that everyone was furious with me. Even though they understood I had a head injury before crawling down into the depths of the pit, no one seemed to care. I'd pretty much caused the death of my uncle, who had given up his life to save me. News outlets in the area reporting on the story couldn't name me personally since I was a minor, but the stories written about the incident were not kind when it came to descriptions of me and my actions that day. My mom refused to let me give my side of the story, and in retrospect, I'm glad. I would have just been called crazy. Anyone who took one look at me in those days would have called for my committal. I was constantly shaking and twitching, looking over my shoulders and scratching an itch on my arm that no longer existed. My hair grew long and I stopped shaving. I stopped eating the food the hospital sent me at one point, thinking that there was something wrong with it for some reason. It just didn't taste right. It tasted like mud. The cave-in had made rescue futile. I'd been lucky to make it out at all, I was told later, as an avalanche of rocks had caused a collapse inside of the cavern immediately after I'd made it out. My cousin Todd will no longer speak to me, and I can understand why. The rest of my family's pissed off as well, obviously, but they're gradually starting to tolerate my presence again. Although I can tell my mom will probably never truly forgive me for her brother's death. I haven't looked in the mirror for a long time. I'm afraid to look into any reflective surface. I try to cover up the mirrors in the house, but my mom uncovers them. I've been told to stop, but I can't help it. Every time I see a mirror, I think of that water in my dream, my foot breaking the surface, and falling down into the pit, spinning head over heels, seeing the rock shelf racing up at me. Mirrors at night are even worse. They just look like that midnight black mud to me now. The therapist told me I should write this all down, so that's why I'm doing this. She keeps asking me the same questions over and over, as if waiting for me to slip up and change my story, to reveal that this is all truly a lie, and maybe start to make some progress in our sessions. Guilt-free zone my ass. This is the truth. This is what happened. I remember everything. Hello, Party Down Catering. Yes, of course. I used to love my job. I was a watchman at a wind farm. All I had to do was make rounds a few times a night to make sure no one was messing with the wind turbines. I would read a lot of books, and eventually, if I got bored, I'd bring my portable DVD player and watch movies all night. The only thing that broke up the time was the patrols. I'd arrive every night around 9 p.m. and get relieved by the day shift at 9 a.m. There wasn't much to it. I'd pull up beside the watchman I was relieving. We'd exchange pleasantries. He'd tell me if anything went on during the day, and then he'd be on his way. I don't remember him ever telling me more than seeing some deer or maybe a bear. There were a dozen windmills stretching out over 5 miles, each connected by a dirt road. When I first started working for this company, I'd get out and check the locks on the access door to each windmill. After 5 years, I'd drive by and barely glance at the things.
Well, had to bet, I guess. My room here. See you guys in the morning. Well, 7 o'clock in the morning, dog. What shit? Gang, gang, you heard. Well, whatever. Press play.
Most times I'd still be watching my movie or show while I'm
One
driving.
for
Not a whole lot
Dio.
of traffic on that dirt road. I drove into a ditch only once, but I got the car out with minimal difficulty. The worst part about that was the embarrassment. Just in time, got my report, and settled into my routine. I did my first round with no problem. Twilight had just faded, leaving the world diving into nighttime darkness. Clouds had been forming all evening, and I saw a flock of turkeys cross my path near one of the fields. That meant it was going to storm. My first round through was a breeze. Nothing was happening. I didn't even see animals that I'd usually see, except for the turkeys. Maybe since it was going to storm, the other animals were battening down the hatches and settling in wherever they were. The drive around the 5-mile dirt road circle took around 30 minutes. They don't like us going very fast, and technically we're supposed to check the door on each wind turbine. I and the other drivers have it timed, so that it looks like we checked. I got back to the main building a little after 9:30. I pulled out my portable DVD player and started watching Die Hard.
I just want to say hello, and my name is Kat, and I'm one of your new scientists. What sign to you? That's all. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. She's hot though. Like.
To credits rolling. Oh, shit, I said, remembering my missed round. I threw the car in gear, and I flew off towards the wind turbines. It was right then that I remembered what I'd forgotten. The flashing light announced low fuel. I cursed myself for forgetting to fill it up yesterday on the way home. This is my second round, I thought. I should have enough to make it through the rest of the night and get to a gas station. This was the thought I clung to the rest of the night. My second round was uneventful. My eyes were constantly drawn to the fuel gauge, but there was nothing I could do about it. Once you're in for the night, you had to stay. If they caught you driving off the job, you are fired. I didn't want to lose such a gravy job, so I stayed put. Although there were a couple of times I considered a quick 2-mile trip to the gas station. The problem was my boss. He was a bit of a prick and liked to pull surprise inspections at all hours of the night. He liked to pretend he was being a nice guy and showing up to see if I needed anything. But I knew why he was really there. If he showed up tonight, I would ask for a couple of gallons of gas. Maybe that would solve my problem and keep him from inspecting as often. Partway through my second movie, Die Hard 2, of course, I went for my next round. It had just started to rain, making my windows fog up, and my defroster wasn't working the best. By the time I went for my fourth round, the weather had made a decision to switch from mildly annoying rain to grab the animals and head for the Ark. It was raining so hard, I could barely see in front of me. I drove at crawling speed. The rain had worn ruts in the road. In some of the lower depressions, there were puddles across the entire road. I was glad I was driving a Jeep. I got right in the middle of one of the giant puddles when my engine gave out. I cranked and I cranked, but it was no use. I was out of gas. I was never going to live this down. I could hear it now. 5 years from now, the other guy would be telling the story about the moron who ran out of gas in the middle of a rainstorm. So now I had a decision to make. Do I stay in the car and ride out the storm, or do I walk back to the main building and wait for the day shift to arrive? I checked my watch. Nearly 8 hours until my relief arrived. The way it was raining, there was no way I was walking back. If there had been an emergency gas can full of fuel, I might have considered it. But the can hadn't had any gas in it for a long time. Yet another wonderful present from my idiot boss. He said it was a waste of gas to have it sit around and grow old. I guess the concept of emergency never crossed his mind. I didn't want to drain my battery, so I didn't watch any more movies. I sat and listened to the rain pound the roof of the car like someone was dropping marbles from the sky. That's when my mind started playing tricks on me. I guess it was bored as I was and decided to have a little fun. I was whistling a little tune in my own off-key way that makes people stuff cotton in their ears when I happened to glance in the rear-view mirror, and the mirror glanced back. I swore I saw a set of eyes looking in the back window. I whipped around so fast my neck cracked, but nothing was there. I hit the door lock button just to be sure, as if off key, as I did all I could to avoid looking in the mirror. Eventually, it was too much. My eyes were drawn to the mirror like a magnet. I looked. There was nothing there. I chuckled nervously at myself for being so stupid, and I leaned my head back against the headrest. I don't remember falling asleep, but I do remember waking up to nothing. No sound.
Huh? The fuck happened to the captures? Oh, number 3, 2, 1. Well, fuck me. It's whatever. Now, where is it? I think it was this one, right? Yeah, where's this one? Okay. Get rid of you and grab you. 3, 2, 1, action. Your job, huh? The site is being under attack. The site is on lockdown, just so you know. Can you hear the gunfire outside? Yeah. Yeah, that's why. For born. Well. I'm gonna go help the facility. Down. Let them handle it. No. I am gonna help them. Down. Die, die, die. Die, 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 die. 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 Die, die, die. 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 And anyone else? Die, 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 die. Die, 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 die. Die. Excuse me. Excuse me. Going down, going over here. Okay, good. Good. Everything is clear, yo. Huh? Let's check. Shit. My bad. I'm sorry, guys. My bad. Don't attack me. Don't kill me. You can't, but yeah, don't try to kill me. Die. Die, die. Anyone else? Die. Die. And die. 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 Die, die, die. Die. There you go, guys. It was a piece of cake. I told you, it's a piece of cake. Well, I didn't tell you it was a piece of cake, but as you can see, it didn't stop me from doing it. And look around. No more fucking, you know, bad guys. So, you can thank me later. See ya. Let's go church on yo. Again. Press play.
Sound of pounding rain, no sound of animals, no crickets even. It was unnerving. I lowered the window a few inches and listened. There was still no sound, not even the whooshing of the wind turbines' blades as they spun. I looked at the closest one, and the blades were still. It was unusual for the wind to be so calm that it couldn't muster enough energy to turn the blades. I checked my watch and found I'd been asleep for 4 hours. The storm clouds had drifted off, and the moon had appeared. It wasn't quite full, but bright enough to light the ground and create hundreds of shadows of the trees that surrounded me. It was a beautiful night, the kind of night that made me glad to live in rural Pennsylvania. It made me seriously rethink waiting in the Jeep until morning. My mind held a tug of war as I hummed, "Should I stay or should I go?" I looked at my watch again. In just under 4 hours, my relief would be driving through the gate. What would he do if I wasn't there? It'd be much easier to explain and have him go get gas, rather than wait for him to do his first round and find me sitting in the middle of the road. My mind was made up. I grabbed the flashlight from the glove compartment, staring for a long moment at the handgun sitting beside it. I thought about it, but decided to leave it behind. Most of the animals in these woods want nothing to do with humans, and the others are easily scared away with a little yelling. I locked the door as I stepped out, and my foot landed in a deep puddle. I sighed as the water oozed past my ankle and filled my sneaker. The puddle encompassed the entire car. It was easily 12 feet across. I knew hopping on one foot